welcome to Undercurrent, where we look at what's been happening in and around Perth. I'm your host, Lucy Marchant. George is a migrant to Western Australia and he's had a good life here. He's aware of the growing number of homeless people here in Perth in need of shelter, and he thinks he has a good solution. Angela McDonald with the report.
Migrants coming to Western Australia isn't something that's new, and 52 years ago George came to Australia and settled in Perth. He's looking outward and he finds that homeless people aren't getting a fair go. Tell us about your background.
I come from Egypt and I'm Greek Egyptian. Schooling, education, my trade in Egypt, and I came here at the age of 24 and I went straight to work, and I'm 52 years in Australia, and my trade is mechanical fitter, boiler maker, welder and pipe fitter. And I was seaman for 2 years and traveled the world, and I see how people having it good and tough.
Now, one of your interests is homelessness. What are you doing about this within your community?
Yes, about the homelessness, I go around and I see how tough they're living. You see, my point is, I'm not a racist, but you got the refugees and the boat people. When they come here, they build centers, detention centers, and they get everything. Why don't they do the same for the homeless? It costs the government a lot less to build the centers than waiting to build buildings, which costs a lot more to find them an accommodation. As a pensioner, I'm trying to help a bit. I talk to them. I see homeless people, their teeth from starvation, I don't know what, they're falling down without dentists, without anything. They're just falling down. They're undernourished, I don't know why, very skinny and really rough. And I feel sorry for those people. It's about time the government does something about those people. Just build the centers. One bedroom is homeless, got a shower, it's got a bath, it's got a toilet, it's got a yard, put some tables there, they can sit down. And if somebody destroying the place, just get him out, get somebody good. That's the whole idea. And Fitzgerald Street, there is a big park. That's another place, it really hurt me. You see the homeless at 5 o'clock every day. I don't know if it's the Salvation Army, I don't know what organization, they go there 5 o'clock and you see all the homeless having a free meal and a free drink. Now they stopped it, I don't know why. I don't know why they stopped it, because they're gonna do developments, I don't know what. But they stopped that from that big park. If they open it anywhere else, I don't know about that, but they never mention if they open it again.
What solutions do you have in mind from your view?
The only solution is, instead of destroying, build more places like camps for the homeless to go in until you find something more suitable for them. And then if you find something suitable, you shift from there, you put him there and you bring somebody else in. I know you need many camps, but see the refugees or the boat people, see how many thousands of thousands. I mean, think of the Australian population too, you know? It's not fair.
I'm Angela Albuquerque for Undercurrent.
An art exhibition at the University of Western Australia is showcasing 9 artists whose work is inspired by their experiences of being young and Muslim in Australia. Detchen met with the curator of the exhibition.
I'm here at the Lawrence Wilson Art Gallery of the University of Western Australia, where the exhibition titled Here and Now 16 GenYM is taking place. Currently, the curator of the exhibition joins me now to tell us more about the exhibition.
So this exhibition is called Here and Now 16 GenYM, and basically it brings together 9 artists who are all Gen Y Australian Muslims who talk about their identity and the way that it's shaped in different ways. We really are focusing on the contemporary expressions of artists who are Australian, but who have been shaped by outside pressures and internal identification as Muslim, and how that identity plays out in their artwork or in their art practice. And the core message is to show people, hopefully, that if they look around the room, they'll see there's so much different. There's so much of a diversity of artworks and stories that they're putting across, and Muslims can't be grouped as just one homogenous whole, but they come from so many different backgrounds. I guess there's quite a bit of work in the show. There's 45 pieces here. We have Susie El-Hafiz, who talks about spirituality and the divine and the body and the connectedness in demarcations of timelessness. We have Abdullah's work, the two photographs, so Pushback and Reclaiming Territories. And he talks about marginalised youth in Australia. And with Marzia Muhammad Ali's boat, so the boat is called Call Them Home. That one's a tribute to people who've died on the way to Australia or outside of detention centres seeking asylum. So what she does is she writes all the names of people of the records that she could find on the top half of the boat, and then on the bottom half of the boat is just all unknown names. And then we have Abdurrahman's work, which is called Practical Magic. So the camel, and it's based on a childhood tale that he tells us about him eating poisonous plants and his mother trying to stop him. So she had to learn through her own studies about native Australian wildlife. And it's based on a saying of the Prophet, or a hadith, which says, "Trust in God but tie your camel." So talking about how you should always have practical, there's a practical element to Islam and to faith. And the work that we're looking at here is Nadia Faragab's work, a Somali artist from Melbourne. And she talks about the domestic sphere with Kolka, which is called The Room. And what she says here is it's an imagined space. So what Somalia would look like if war didn't happen. I think people for years and years have been wanting to hear voices of young Australian Muslims, how they think and feel, what their identity is made up of. For me, that's important to explore in the space of art. 9/11 was a big instigator for shaping the way that a generation was formed an identity, being young and Muslim. So when 9/11 occurred, a lot of the artists here were in their early 20s or teenagers. This is what the exhibition shows, is that while people are aware of the stigma attached to being Muslim and Islamophobia, and it's a very real thing, it's very detrimental when it takes away the individual's expression. When people can't express their identity and they don't have a space to do that, then things happen that's detrimental to society. So my goal, is to kind of create those spaces of conversations.
This is Tishanongmo reporting for Undercurrent.
With the federal elections looming, Australians are casting their attention to the different parties and their positions on issues that are important to them. Detchen asked the people of Perth what issues mattered the most to them.
The 2016 federal election is just around the corner. On the 2nd of July, about 3 weeks from now, hundreds and thousands of voters across Australia will cast their votes to elect a new government. As Australians gear up for the poll day, we hit the streets to find out what are some of the important issues that matter to the people this election.
The budget deficit is the obvious one. An overemphasis on small issues.
There's no hard action or decisions made for the environment, number one, for the wildlife, number two, and also children, the vulnerable.
Well, as a youth, I think the most thing that matters is probably about unemployment, because I know that there's a lot of us unemployed out there.
They should really put more into the mental health area.
I'm getting sick of the taxes, they're raising them, and we're not getting any more money, so if you're going to raise taxes, raise our pay so we've got more money in our pockets.
How hopeful are you of the elections and the new government?
I really don't have much faith. They're all kind of keeping people reasonably happy.
It's almost a stalemate where no party is prepared to take firm action on the real issues that confront Australia.
Yeah, they're not really the best. They could do better.
The Australian Electoral Commission says one of the biggest concerns for them is the low young voter enrolment.
They're disenchanted. They have no faith, no trust, and they look at these people who're supposed to be, how can I say, role models. There aren't any.
From like a young perspective, we don't really know much about politics and the elections, and I don't think many people think that their vote will count.
Probably because they're not actually noticing what impact they can actually make and what impact it will have on their lives, so they don't really care as much.
Young people as such are taking the point of view that politics and politicians have become almost irrelevant. I know I would if I were a young person.
How do we get young people interested in elections and politics? How do we engage them?
If I knew that, I'd be Prime Minister.
Well, apart from making it not so boring, maybe like events to get young people together.
I don't think it's them, I think it's the target audience. Like they've done their part, but it's up to us to do the rest.
So voting is compulsory here in Australia. What are your views about it? Should it be compulsory or should it be a free choice?
Well, I'd say free choice.
I think it is a misnomer that voting is compulsory. You can just put a big cross across the ballot paper if you want. That in itself is a vote. It's just you must attend. You must, one way or other, express how you feel.
This is Sichinongmo reporting for Undercurrent.
Stay with us for more Undercurrent after a short break. Welcome back to Undercurrent. Suicide rates among young adults and teens in Western Australia are on the rise. Particularly devastated is the Peel region, where 8 young adults have taken their lives since December 2015. After losing 3 of his friends, Damien Martin decided to create a video to raise awareness about suicide and prevention.
One person every 40 seconds kills himself. And you still think telling someone to kill themselves is a joke? When you're 13, you should be writing love letters, not suicide notes. And when you're 16, instead of going out with your friends, you'd rather die.
I'm here with Damien Martin. He's a 17-year-old student here in Mandurah where we are today, and he's in a spotlight because he's created a video which has had 15,000 views and talks about suicide prevention. Can you tell us a little bit about what prompted you to create this video?
So I attend Hallshead College, and we had recent suicides. We've had 3 suicides in the last 6 months. So after losing the last friend, it just sort of started getting to myself. So I then decided I needed to make a difference in the community, and I decided to make a video.
When did you first come up with the idea to create this video?
So I came up with the idea back in April. I was in the shower, and I decided, or when I was in the shower, I was thinking about the recent loss of my friend, and then I decided I should make a video. So then when I got out the shower, I went into my bedroom, just got out my notebook, and I just started scribbling down the notes, all the ideas that I had in my head when I was in the shower.
And did you talk to anyone about this before creating it? Did you get any support from your family, from friends?
I got a bit of support from my family because I talked to my mum about it, and then I talked to Leonie Lever, who is an actor, and she was quite supportive about the idea, dropped a few ideas for me, but besides that I've thought of the idea and what to put in it all myself.
And did you get any help from friends in the filming of it?
I got help from friends at school. My teachers were really supportive of it. Miss Merritt, she let me use her room. But yeah, my friend Neptune, who was the bully in the video, he's actually quite a nice guy in real life. He helped me out a lot with that one.
What sort of response have you gotten from your school friends since the video's been published?
A lot of my school friends like it, but now poor Neptune's being picked out as the bully in the video. But no, my friends have been really supportive, so is the school, and they've all liked the video.
So let's talk about awareness. Were you aware of this issue of teen suicide before it actually happened to you?
I had ideas that it happened, but I didn't realise the severity of how much people are committing suicide a year, especially in the age group, between 13 and 17 years old. There's a lot more than I thought there was.
There have been 8 suicides since December 2015.
Yeah, that's in the Peel region. So that's a fair loss, just, in a few months.
How does it feel going to school after such a loss?
Weird, because everyone that was around you was upset and down. Even the teachers that we know that were usually happy were quite upset. So the school, was offering counselling, and they had psychologists and all that at the school to help you out. So it was a bit of a weird feeling, to be honest.
Something that you could have seen coming, or was it completely out of the blue?
For one of the students, they seen it coming, but for the other 2, it was completely out of the blue. They always seemed happy, always smiling, always saying hello, and then all of a sudden we heard the news that they'd committed suicide.
You also talk about social media and people sending messages back and forth with limited consequences, so that they can say quite mean things. Have you ever experienced that yourself?
Yeah, I've experienced it quite a bit. Unfortunately, Facebook and social media, you can be a troll yourself or you can be trolled. So someone can sit behind a computer screen under a fake name, under a fake profile, and harass you, bully you, and unfortunately, besides blocking them, there's nothing else you can do about it.
How did you yourself get over that situation?
Friends at school heard about what was happening online and actually went and got me help from the school, or went and told one of the teachers at school, and then the school went and got me help. But online, all I could do was block them and hopefully not get harassed by anyone else.
In your video, you talk about suicide prevention. What sort of ways do you think we can all help each other out?
I think we can all ease up on what we say to other people and realise that what we say actually offends people, rather than trying to prevent suicide. I think it's what we say hurts people more than we know. But if you see a friend that's down, or someone that you know that is usually happy that isn't, to ask if they're okay, I think that's the only thing you can really do.
Your ending statement is, "It doesn't take much to make a difference." So are there any helplines, any help at school at the moment that your peers can get?
At school there's a lot of help. We've got obviously youth workers, counsellors. But obviously out of school we've got Headspace, Youth or Beyond Blue and Youth Line, so they're all helpful aids. And we've also got Peel Health Services in Mandurah.
And what would you say to families who have teenage kids?
If they don't see themselves or they're isolating themselves, to talk to them and don't force help upon them. But if it gets to a point where you think you might need to get them help, get them help. I think it's more to the people that feel like they're suicidal is to go get help straight away. Don't delay it. Don't think that things would just automatically get better, because you have to help yourself to help yourself get better. And that's all I can really think of for them.
Lucy Marchant, reporting for Undercurrent. The Animal Justice Party was formed in response to a growing public concern about the neglect of animals and animal protection issues. Our Undercurrent reporter James met with Katrina Love to discuss the upcoming federal election.
Today I'm here at the Fremantle Environmental Resource Network with Katrina Love from the Animal Justice Party to discuss animal welfare and the upcoming federal election. What are the main aims of your party for this election?
The main aims for this election, every election, is just to represent the non-human animals that are affected by legislation in Parliament but don't have any voice in Parliament. So we're running in 54 seats, including 12 Senate seats and 42 lower house seats around Australia.
What are some of your key party policies?
The key party policies leading into this election are ending live export, banning factory farming, ending the slaughter of Australian wildlife, and we're supporting a completely independent Office of Animal Welfare. They're our key platform policies.
If elected, which areas of reform would you propose?
If elected to the Senate, look, realistically, there's not a lot of influence you can have on animal issues at a federal level. It's much more related to the state animal welfare acts. So we're running for the Senate because we want to have a presence there. We have a chance of getting in Victoria and New South Wales, certainly, but we'll be focusing more on the WA state election in March next year and hoping to perhaps pick up a seat in the upper house in that election and then effect change, certainly within the Animal Welfare Act and all the local issues that affect WA wildlife, fish, live export. Although it's a federal trade issue, there certainly has an influence on the state and this port. Many of our members and supporters and the people who vote for us because we represent such a wide raft of issues, from greyhound racing, jumps racing, duck shooting, puppy farms, factory farming, caged eggs, anything that affects non-human animals in Australia, we will stand up for them.
There have been many shark attacks here in WA which have injured and killed people. How can we ensure the safety of people swimming at the beach and protect marine life at the same time?
Well, firstly, I think it's kind of irresponsible to call them shark attacks. People get bitten in the water by sharks. That's what sharks do. They feed on things in the water. Most people that die from shark bites die from heart attack or blood loss. So it's actually not the shark kind of purposely killing them. And most shark attack victims are the case of mistaken identity. So we believe there are many policies that can be implemented, non-lethal shark mitigation policies such as shark spotting, shark barriers, shark repellent surfboards, shark camouflage wetsuits, aerial spotting, tagging all threatening sharks. So great whites really are the only species of shark that has a sort of constant negative impact on humans in the water, and still it's minuscule. Like, you have more chance of being run down by a drunk driver than you do of having a negative interaction with a shark.
Why should people vote for your party at this next election?
They should vote for our party because there's no representation in our parliamentary system for non-human animals. Every single other party is very anthropocentric in its nature. They all represent the needs of humans. Not to say that we don't need that. Certainly we need the parties that represent, social justice and good law and order and education and healthcare and all that. We need people in Parliament to get that right. But over 70% of legislation that's passed in Parliament negatively affects the animals that we share this continent and the waters that surround it with. So we feel we need someone in there rooting for the animals, standing up for them, representing them when bills are passed. And you know, we're not going to form government and take over the world and shut down all the abattoirs and ban people from consuming dairy. We just want to be a representation in Parliament for those who don't have the ability to choose their own representation by voting.
James Rogers reporting for Undercurrent.
And that's all we have time for on this episode of Undercurrent. Take care. We'll see you next week.